What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to be talking all about the new Godox A1. The Godox A1 is a hybrid flash and LED designed for smartphones. Right here on the front you can see that we have both an LED and a little flash panel, and on top you can see there is a dial as well as indicators for the flash, LED, and a set button to confirm a few options. On the side there is two ports, one of which is to use the included USB Type-C. Godox coming with the upgrades. USB Type-C for charging its internal lithium-ion battery. On the back you'll find this little sticky panel that I guess is designed to try to create some contact with the iPhone, although I felt you still had to pretty much hold it right there. And on the bottom you'll find a 1/4 thread for putting it on top of a stand. First up, let's talk about using this with your phone. My phone is currently over on the charger so that I can do the display portion of this video later. So this beautiful rose gold is actually the color choice of my wife. So that back panel that I was talking about, it's very lightly magnetic and also has kind of a grippy material, but as you can see, it's definitely not just attaching to the back of your phone. So the most primitive use of this would be to put it behind your phone, and then using the Godox app you can trigger this flash with their camera app, which also offers full manual control of the settings. We'll get to how much actual control you have later because iPhones are seriously limited in terms of control. But with that app, you can also take this and put it off camera. Bringing off camera flash to a phone is just something that really hasn't been done well before. So we can put this on a stand, you can put it on say like the 8200 mount, you can put it on that and have tilt control and actually get some off-camera flash with your iPhone using just this. Now before we get into more of the advanced use of this, let me talk about what the limitations of your phone are. First off, your iPhone sensor is really tiny. Quality, high ISO, all that stuff, gonna be really low. That's why we use these expensive cameras anyway, right? Second, the aperture on a phone is actually a constant aperture. I believe on the iPhone it's like f2.2, so we can't actually increase that aperture, and that becomes important when you consider that the shutter speed necessary to use this flash is a maximum shutter speed of 1/30th of a second. 1/30th. When's the last time you guys shot at 1/30th, especially outside? The reason for this is the electronic shutter. It's reading line by line, so you need a combination of that really slow shutter speed and the flash to pulse long enough in order for it to actually sync up and light your whole image. And lastly, the ISO limitation is 25, which seems pretty good, but it's still not much when you have to be shooting at f2.2 and 1/35th of a second. I mean, just using the Sunny 16 rule, we're talking 6 to 7 stops that you would have to use of ND filter in order to bring the ambient light down to a point where you could sync the flash to this. So if you think you're going to be ditching the DSLR and just sticking with your iPhone 6 Plus in portrait mode, that's really not happening anytime soon. Okay, so I know what you guys are thinking. We don't want to do our jobs with our phones, so what the heck does this actually offer us professionals who want to maintain using our camera? So let's get into that by taking a look in the app. Okay, so with our Godox A1 turned on, we're going to open up the Godox Photo app, and here's the home screen. Gonna jump into the Bluetooth screen and you'll see mine is already connected. However, this is where you would connect your device. Just so you guys know, the password the first time you initiate it is 0000000. Very clever. So that allows you to connect to the Godox A1. Now let's bring open the camera app real quick just so you can see what that's like. In the bottom right corner here we have our settings button, and we can use that to change all of our camera settings. Fastest sync speed is 1/35th of a second, and you can go all the way down to 1/5. And then here's the ISO up top, go all the way to the maximum ISO of 1600 and down to the minimum ISO of 25. And there's no aperture control because the iPhone has a constant aperture of f2.2. So you can see that flash is coming from the Godox A1, and we can change that power right here on the back, increase the power, but it's also in group A, which I'll show you how to modify that later. But I wanted you guys to see what this app was like. One thing I found annoying is it requires you to establish focus in order to fire, but there is no manual focus control, so I guess that's understandable. We've also got options in the top right to delay the timer if you want to do a self timer. You can flip to your selfie and change the auto white balance between all the different presets. Now where things get a little bit more interesting is when we go into the flash menu. Now by default, the A1 is going to be your A group. So if you want to control that here, whether it be in auto, which is essentially TTL, or you can flip into manual and change the power remotely. One thing you don't want to get confused by, guys, up top here is something that changes all the groups. So in this main menu, this isn't your group A or your control for your A1. You need to step into the A group in order to modify the power of the A1 if you're trying to use it either on camera or off camera. From the flash menu, you can also use this button up here to turn on or off that modeling lamp. But say we're not using the A1. So you can use this with the app to control the TT685s, the TT600s, V860 version 2, V850 version 2, 8200, 8360 version 2, 8600, all the Explorer equivalents, all those lights you can trigger with this. Even the version 1 of the V860, so long as you have the appropriate 2.4 gigahertz model of the receiver. Okay, so now we've got an Evol 200, and that's going to be in Group B. Now we're going to go in the app here. And as you can see, as soon as I enter that Group B, this takes over the power. So if I start modifying that power, then I can control it. And it works this way with the entire X series. Additionally, we have control of the LEDs, Godox LEDs that are radio controlled for this video. Right now I've got an SLB60Y in channel 12 Group A. Let's see if this video gets brighter. So if we come down to the bottom of these groups, this is where you can actually control which groups are going to be visible on the home screen. So if you only want 2 groups, boom, there you go, A and B. But if you want to use maybe something from that legacy series, like the original V850, you can add in those groups 4 and 5, and they can be in there without having to scroll through all of them. So I really like that functionality for mixed users. One thing I'm not sure how they're going to work around is that this is built for all the brands. And on Nikon, when you use groups D and E, those are not TTL capable. However, you still have the option to select those as auto, which is essentially TTL. Not sure how that's exactly going to work. Obviously, it's not going to send a TTL signal, but I'm sure it was just an oversight because they were trying to make this compatible, this one app compatible with all the different lights. So let's get rid of those groups again. Go back down to A, B, and C. One thing that's cool right here is up top, you can use this to change the ratio of everything that you have set. You can also swipe to move one full stop at a time. Now what I wish they did is just put like a dial. See how this has a dial? I wish you could do that for the flash power, and then the flash power scrolled above your finger as you went up and down. I mean, just tapping and swiping that many times seems useless when you can just use this slider to control the power. This slider actually controls the minimum power. You can change it from anywhere to 1/512th, which I don't even think exists on a Godox light, all the way up to 1/8. Up top here, again, control the modeling light, sound on and off. This is how you can set up the multi-mode, change the amount of times. This I actually like, rather than using the menu on the back of the flash to use this, or the trigger, whichever you're using multi for. I actually like how this one's designed for multi-mode. And then if we go over here, we can turn all the lights off using a standby. Well, not really off, but just in standby mode so that they're not doing anything. There's also another option up here, which is import and export. And what I think that does is allows you to save a preset. So we've got groups A, B, and C. We're going to export. We're going to name it Rob. Save data. Okay, now we're going to mess all these up. We'll just put them all at full power. Sure, good enough. We're also going to just add groups 8 and 9, see if it makes those changes as well. And let's put this one in auto to make sure it gets that out. All right. So now I just messed up all those settings. And we're going to go to import. We're going to hit Rob, import, boom. All our stuff's back. It got rid of our groups. Cool. So this does everything. I put this one back in manual. This is something that when using it the first time, I thought, hey, that would be great if I could import light settings so I could change my looks quickly in studio. I didn't realize that those options were sitting right in front of me. So that's a huge plus. Did not expect that. And that's pretty much it for all the flash functionality that you get. So if you guys are interested in how this is going to behave with an X1 as your primary trigger, I did do a complete video on it yesterday, which you can see here, but here's the short of it. Whatever power settings you use on the app will be transmitted to the A1 via Bluetooth, and then that will transmit via 2.4 gigahertz radio to your X1 controller. So as long as you modify the power settings on here, all of your lights will accept those power settings, and then as you keep shooting, your X1 will not reset those unless you hit the test button. So effectively, it turns your X1 into a dummy trigger that is only for radio operation, although it does still engage HSS when you go over the sync speed in your camera. So I don't really think that this is going to be a really cool solution for using on location, because I really wouldn't like to be pulling my phone out constantly or like having it attached somewhere to the point where I can control it all. I don't like the X1 as a controller, but I certainly would not like that user experience more than simply using the X1 or a flash instead. However, I could see those import-export features being great for changing looks in a studio. If you were doing a setup for headshots or fashion or anything in the studio where you wanted to quickly change which groups were active, what powers they were set at, what's in TTL, what's not, if modeling lights are active, you could set up multiple looks before your talent ever comes into the studio and then just effortlessly switch between them. Instead of changing lights and remetering, you can just be done with that right in advance, and you could really cut down on your studio session time. So while I really wouldn't consider this thing practical, at least not for me as a professional photographer, I could see if I was doing some product photography and just getting into it, I could see getting one Speedlight 1A1 and being able to do some pretty cool product photography shots in a dark studio. That would be awesome and is a good use for the A1 for anybody looking for that. But for the professional photographer who's using DSLRs or mirrorless equipment, I really don't see a great use for this, because even if you wanted to, say, shoot a BTS, hijack all of your Godox lighting and shoot a BTS with your phone because you've got a 70-200mm on, even if you wanted to do that and show all that lighting, you're limited by the actual phone. One thing that I thought would be a cool addition to their app that it isn't in there now is if they implemented the delay feature into the app that would still use this as a dummy trigger. That way you could prevent the lights from going into HSS, instead use a radio delay and get a little bit more power out of your light, even though you'd sacrifice for the gradient problems that you experience with those type of systems. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about HyperSync from Pocket Wizard, Super Sync. You can even do it with this equipment, but the X1 will always take that HSS signal from the camera and relay that to the lights. So now that it's a dummy, I really wish you could manually turn that on and off. I probably wouldn't use it because I've got powerful enough lights for all of my HSS needs, but it'd be cool for other photographers who might be limited. I'd really like to see the option to do sliding bars instead of tapping your way and swiping your way constantly to adjust the power. If they just put a little indicator above of your power setting as you slide back and forth so that you can drop in exactly what power you'd like really quickly, that would really increase the usability of the app. And finally, the best advice I can give them is to just update the X1 so that you don't need to carry this around with this type of functionality. I'm really not even excited about this using with the smartphone. I just don't see much practical use to it. However, if you had an updated trigger that accepted the Bluetooth signal from the app without carrying this thing around, then I think you're onto something. Because I don't want to have this here or in a pocket just to control all these lights, because professional photographers who are using off-camera lighting just simply already have enough stuff to carry around. So yeah, let's just put this in here and then we're good. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, but I'm far more active in my photography gear chat group on Facebook, where you can get the advice of me and thousands of other photographers. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on shooting, YouTube.